Today we're in Southern California to drive the latest from Honda. This is the 2022 Honda Passport TrailSport. That's coming up right now on Driving Sports TV.
The Honda Passport is a mid-size family crossover with more off-road capability than you might expect. Sure, it's not going to replace a Toyota 4Runner or a Jeep Grand Cherokee for those times when the going gets really tough, but for light trails, the Passport is more than enough. With the off-road segment heating up, Honda is finally drawing attention to the Passport's rugged capability, with a design refresh and a new trim that puts the focus on off-road adventure. This is the 2022 Honda Passport TrailSport, the first in a new line of trims from Honda designed to highlight the adventurous side of Honda's crossovers and trucks.
This year, in 2022, it is just a trim package. That means that it comes with mud mats and stickers and badges.
But in the future, Honda is promising that vehicles under this name will have even more off-road capability. Prices you see it here, $43,695 US, including destination.
Today we're here near the Salton Sea, and we're going to put this thing to the test.
Under the hood is Honda's 3.5-liter V6 engine. This produces 280 horsepower and 262 pound-feet of torque. It's connected to a 9-speed automatic transmission, and it powers all four wheels through the iVTM4 torque vectoring all-wheel drive system. EPA rates economy at 19 in the city and 24 mpgs on the highway. Ground clearance is a modest 8.1 inches. Towing capacity maxes out at 5,000 pounds.
The back has also been redesigned with new trim to give it a more aggressive off-road look. We have a power liftgate and one of the largest cargo capacities in the class.
Behind the second row, there's 50 cubic feet of storage. Fold down all the seats for up to 100 cubic feet of total capacity.
So you might be asking, can you sleep in it? Yeah, totally. Lots of space. The second row is, of course, massive. I have so much headroom. I got miles of leg room. I also down here have an AC socket if I want to plug in devices, in addition to two USB-A plugs. In the center, you get a fold-down armrest with two cup holders. In fact, there's a lot of cup holders in this thing, 10 in total. One more feature in the TrailSport, you get side screens. Oh yeah, up front, so much space, and it's accentuated by the horizontal design. It's really quite extraordinary. Let's power this on. Memory positions puts me into place, and the seat is really kind of cushy, not a ton of lateral support, but I do get adjustments on the side here, which are pretty nice, and the seat is also enhanced with 3 stages of heat. Now, the main gauge cluster is a mostly digital affair with a fuel level on the right and a temperature gauge on the left, which is kind of unusual. It's like, why didn't they just go full digital? But still, I actually like this display. I think it presents a lot of useful information and it looks really good. Steering wheel covered in leather. It has some of this orangish, brownish stitching. It's on the door panels as well. I believe that is all exclusive to TrailSport. There are also paddle shifters behind the wheel. Get a sunroof up here. In terms of materials, this thing is in the mid-40s, and I kind of would expect a little bit nicer materials. Also, this display. Yes, an 8-inch navigation system is standard, but when you have an interior that feels this spacious, it just looks tiny. And then what's with this massive bezel around it? It kind of, again, just makes the screen look tiny. Now, in terms of functionality, there's a lot here. I mean, it is a proper navigation system. Let's see if we have any data out here in the desert. If we can do a search. Navigation.
Say a navigation command.
Find place.
Say a place.
Starbucks.
Searching for Starbucks. Select an item.
So it found one 21 miles away, which is accurate. Now, the one thing that is interesting here, let's turn that voice off. Off, go away, go away, go away. Stop talking to me. Okay. The thing you will notice there is that it doesn't use natural speech like a lot of modern systems do. It's kind of a little bit more old school in that you have to use very specific keywords. Still, it provides functionality if you want to go hands-free, although if you're going to make me go down that path, I don't know, I think I would rather just stop and type it in, honestly. Now, in terms of other things that you get up here, Sirius XM satellite radio, of course, it's kind of on every new vehicle these days, at least as an option. You also get Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, Bluetooth audio. Under settings, you can play with a few things, not a lot really. Trip computer, let's look at that. Range, 245 miles. We're averaging 18.8 miles to the gallon because, of course, this comes with a V6. Now, the V6 is interesting. It's a 3.5 liter. It produces 280 horsepower, and it has cylinder deactivation. So that means it'll run on 3, 4, or 6 cylinders as necessary. This screen, of course, also provides a backup camera. Switch it into reverse, and we have a low-resolution backup camera with object detection. It's annoyed because I have a camera back there right now. Put it into park. It also supports cross-traffic alerts. And this thing actually does come pretty nicely equipped in terms of active safety. You have collision mitigation, blind spot warning, rear cross-traffic alerts with the backup camera, and lane detection. Oh, it also has adaptive cruise control with lane detection as well. Given my experience with this system, however, it is not exactly like a rock-solid lane tracing one. It's more of a kind of vaguely bouncing between the lanes, which again is fine. It's just not as good as some of the competition offers, such as Subaru's lane tracing is excellent. Moving on down here, we have a couple power sockets. Got a USB-A and a 12 volt. We also have a charging pad for mobile devices that are compatible. And then right here we have one of the more interesting things of the Passport is borrowed from Acura. It's actually their little push button transmission control system where you pull for reverse, push for a neutral, hit D for drive, hit it again for sport. I've always kind of wished that when you hit it for sport, it would change from green to a different color, but yeah, you know, I actually don't mind this setup because you're doing different strokes for different settings. Unlike Ford, which uses the PRND and it's all the same physical motion, this one, you're at least varying your motion as to what you want to do. So you can actually, it works pretty well with muscle memory if you drive it a lot. And then below that, we have a drive mode select because this, of course, is iVTM4. Even though you can get this as a front-wheel drive vehicle, you can't get the TrailSport trim in anything other than with iVTM4 all-wheel drive. So the whole concept of TrailSport is to really put forward the fact that the Passport is already a pretty good soft roader. You're not going to do like rock crawling with it, that's not the intent, but it's already very capable in off-road situations. The TrailSport trim just kind of brings that out with the mud mats, the cool logos, and the more rugged looking nose. It kind of just basically says, hey, I'm here and I'm ready to go off-roading. Now, down the road, will Honda add extra elements like more ground clearance and underbody protection? They are hinting that they are. So definitely look forward to seeing what comes in 2023 and beyond. So enough talking, let's start driving. Ever since Honda came out with this, I've really been a fan of the Passport. It's not quite as big as the Pilot because, of course, it's only a 2-row, not a 3-row, but also it has more aggressive looks. And inside, it just has so much space. I mean, up to 100 cubic feet of storage in the back. That's nuts for a midsize crossover. But also, one of the key things that I really like about it is that it actually is really good off-road. And the reason for that is the iVTM4 all-wheel drive system. It is absolutely one of the best all-wheel drive systems you can get today. And one of the neat things about iVTM4 is its ability to transmit power around the system, whether you're in sand, dirt, or if a wheel isn't even touching the ground. When Honda announced the TrailSport trim, I was pretty excited because I thought bigger tires, more ground clearance, underbody protection, let's really make, the Passport a truly great off-road vehicle. So when it turned out to be mostly a sticker package, I was like, oh, well, a little disappointing, but let's keep something in mind. This was already a very capable off-roader. In my previous review, I took this off-roading and it was great. Now granted, there are some areas that need improvement, specifically ground clearance is a big issue. 8.1 inches really isn't enough. But perhaps the most exciting thing about TrailSport as a new trim level means that Honda can finally put some focus on more capability down the road. I would love it to be in this one, but I think that just acknowledging it, this is the acknowledgement. This is where they're saying, oh, hey, that Passport's really great off-road. Okay, we'll give a sticker package this year. Next year or 2 years down the road, maybe we'll give it some more lift, some better tires, basically take care of the stuff that as buyers we always have to take care of after the fact. It'd be really nice just to get it from the factory that way. So to see just how far they've come with the Passport, we have this new refreshed 2022 model, and we're going to take it into the desert to see how it does on a different type of trail than what we have up in Washington State. But first, let's do a 0 to 60. This is not the nicest pavement, but it'll have to do. Complete stop, put it into sport, not going to change anything else. 3, 2, 1, go. Throttle, and whoa, that's a kick. Power goes equally front to back. And 60 at 6.43 seconds. I'd say that's pretty good for a mid-size family crossover. I really like the 3.5 liter V6 in this thing. It's such a great engine. It's the same motor that you would find in the Odyssey and the Pilot and even the Ridgeline. And in fact, speaking of the Ridgeline, this is based on the same architecture as the Ridgeline. However, it has a much shorter wheelbase, which should help in climbing over challenging obstacles. If you just hear me out, if they put Falcon Wild Peaks on this thing, even slightly larger ones, which would just lift it up naturally because of the bigger diameter of the tire, put something resembling a skid plate on the front, and boom, you have a great trail vehicle. One thing really nice about this design is it actually has a pretty good approach and departure angle. Very much better than many other vehicles in this class. So instead of just talking about how good this vehicle is in off-road conditions, we're here at the Salton Sea, actually just outside the Salton Sea, to take it onto a desert trail to see exactly how good is it. Okay, now that we have a flag on, we can head out into the desert trails. So we're gonna go onto Tectonic Gorge. This isn't a terribly difficult trail. It is mostly sand and some rock and some areas where we'll really be able to test the articulation and the all-wheel drive system. Honda scouted this route out, but it is actually just a publicly accessible trail here in the California desert. I do think this trail is about right for the capabilities of this vehicle today. This is, of course, a public trail, so I do have to worry about cross traffic and maybe some people flying around corners with side-by-sides. So I'm gonna just kind of take it easy today. The tires on this are, of course, all seasons. Though they have a kind of aggressive side pattern, they're really not all-terrains. Actually, they're not even close to all-terrains. It's the same situation as in the Ridgeline. It's an aggressive look to give you the look of an all-terrain, but without any of the capability. But on the upside, they don't make extra noise on the freeway like an all-terrain would. Now in terms of ground clearance, we have 8.1 inches, which, if we manage our terrain okay, should be fine. Obviously, other car makers, like the Jeep Compass Trailhawk that we have, as well as all the Subarus, have 8.6 inches or more of ground clearance. So this is definitely not best of class in that category. We did not air down the tires, and that was because the manufacturer requested that we do not unless we really feel we need to. So we're gonna not do that. The rock formations here are really cool. I mean, it's very obvious why this is called Tectonic Gorge, because you're in a gorge and you get to see all these layers of rock. Some of the rocks even have like petrified trees sticking out of them. Hey, you probably noticed it's a little bouncy here. Yeah, that's because washboard and the suspension on the Passport really isn't designed for this kind of stuff. It's a little on the firm side for rough roads. The seats could also deal with a little bit more bolstering to kind of keep you more planted, but you know, it's okay. Again, this is not first and foremost an off-roader. It's just a road car that also happens to be able to do a little trail work. Okay, there we go. There are multiple drive modes, and I'm just going to keep it at normal for right now. And the reason for that is mud and sand also increase throttle sensitivity, and the last thing I really want to be able to do is thrusting forward when going over, like if I have a rock in my route or something like that, I'm going to want to kind of crawl over it. I don't want that extra throttle. And also IVTM4 can usually figure out most situations. You really only need to put it in those other settings when you want to, you know, have some fun, or you have a really slick or you know, sandy situation where you need that extra wheel spin. So we're going to stay on Tectonic Gorge, which is to the left. We'll probably come back on Gettysburg, which is on the right. That's way sandier and actually much quicker. This one has a few more technical aspects about it. Like put our wheel up on this rock. You know, the sand isn't too bad. You hit sand and it just kind of sloughs underneath. But you hit a rock, oh yeah, you can create some real damage. Okay, a lot of tilts on this course. Now here's the first obstacle. It's really just a climb. But what it's really going to show, hopefully, is how IVTM4 will channel power around the system. Now I'm not making any adjustments. This is just in normal mode. And we'll see what it does. So I'm going to lift up that back rear wheel. I'm just keeping the throttle on. Slow and steady throttle is the name of the game with the system. And it just sorts everything out. Wheel spin, but no big deal. Up and over. Now we just have to get down. I know I've mentioned it on other reviews, but man, trail cams are nice, and this does not have one. So I'm just going to look for an indication of where my berm is here on the left so I don't grind the vehicle, and I can pretty much figure that it'll be good enough for the right. Ooh, no scraping on the nose. Yay, good approach angles. I think it's like 21 degrees, something like that. Okay, on to the next. So we're cutting off the main trail to do a couple of technical sections here. And in doing such, I don't really know if we have the clearance to pull them off successfully. Now, you might be looking at this trail going, wow, he's making a big deal about not very difficult trails. But keep in mind, this is a mall-going crossover. It is 8.1 inches of ground clearance, non-all-terrain tires. There are limitations to the vehicle, and that is what we have to keep in mind here. Now this next one's gonna be a little trickier. Let's check that brake over. So this is one of the distinct advantages of the Passport versus the Ridgeline, is the Ridgeline truck has a much longer wheelbase. Just listening for grinding. Anything? Whoop. Let me take a look at how much nose push we have here. Yeah, that's not gonna work. We can't go straight. We need to go at an angle. So I'm putting in reverse, keeping my foot on the brake. I'm gonna add a little throttle before I release the brake so I don't slide forward anymore. There we go, okay. Now let's see if I can clear it going a little diagonal maybe. Now I got a big rock in the way. Should have a spotter for this actually. I got this. I will not be defeated. That's where you live now, Rock. I think we'll be fine. Now let's see, we're gonna dig. I think we're gonna dig. Okay, abandon this course. I don't think this is gonna work. Again, we are just in normal mode. No adjustments to the IVTM4 system. Oh, we couldn't make that last one, but can I make this approach? Ooh, okay, yeah, we made it. No grinding that time. Okay, well, this looks pretty good. This should really lift up that right wheel and give me some good articulation. Not only are we gonna see how IVTM4 works here, but we can see how much articulation this vehicle has. Like, how far up will that wheel go into the vehicle? So I'm just kind of taking it slow, so make sure I don't grind my nose. Let that power shift around. It's showing that like most of the power is going to the back on the gauge here, which is really quite good. Go really slow so we don't land on anything with a thud. Okay. Whew, such a good system. Is it better than a proper, you know, transfer case based or center differential setup? No, it's not. But considering what this is and how nice it is to drive every day, not everybody needs that. Gotta watch my corners. Now, breakover is gonna be a concern here. I've repositioned my mirrors so I can look down. This is this is not a small vehicle. There we go. Watch out for that rock on the left there. Definitely don't want to clip that, or that would be an end to our adventure today. Okay, made it through that. On to the next. One after the next. Now we do have a destination. There's a lookout at the end of this trail where we'll stop and have our final closing thoughts. Okay, oh, out of the tilt and success. You know, after my experience in Colorado with the 4Runner sliding laterally into a tree, a little bit more nervous about those moves these days. But I did it in the Passport, and yeah, we're at the top. I think there's a good opportunity to rip off a celebratory donut, perhaps. Switch it into sand mode because that pushes most of the power to the back, and you just floor it. Woohoo! Yes! I love this thing. So would I buy this one now? Not yet. And the reason is, now that they have TrailSport, I am now looking more forward to future versions of this vehicle. And I hope that they really, you know, kick things up a notch, to borrow the popular chef's phrase. Because this is such a great start and it's such a good platform. Great things are coming. Oh, something else that this needs? Tow hooks. You cannot make an off-road ready vehicle without recovery hooks. The little eyelets, I'm sorry, that just doesn't cut it.
With the sun getting low in the sky, it was time to head back. So I jumped over to the Gettysburg Trail for the return trip.
And it looks like we have some sand in front of us. Now, all we need to do is switch this vehicle into sand mode, and that will push as much power to the back as possible. It'll also allow for wheel spin so we can churn our way through the sand. Let me demonstrate. I throttle through. Whoa! See? No problem. Now, of course, there are points where you need to air down or have better tires, but this sand isn't really that difficult. It's just fun. So with sand, you just kind of want to put the throttle in and hope you don't get stuck. Whoa. Oh.
I should also mention that when driving in sand, always be on the lookout for hidden rocks.
That wasn't good. Yeah, we got nothing. Cell phone, no radio, it's on us. So it's time to check out that spare tire that comes with this TrailSport. So if you're on the trails, you always want to make sure that you have a full-size spare. Let's see what they included. That does not look like the other tires. We weren't too far away from the street, so I went ahead and drove the vehicle with the flat tire, probably about a quarter mile to the section where I actually have pavement. You will notice that I actually put the wheel to jack on the outside of the road. That's for safety concerns. You never really want to jack on the side of traffic if you can avoid it. A lot of people die every year because of that. Gonna look to see if there was any damage to anything, since that was a rock that hit, but I think it just clipped the outside. We seem to be okay. Let's put the tire back on. And this right here is exactly why all season 245/60 R18s are not ideal for off-roading. Granted, no, we should not have hit that rock, but we did. It happens. And well, today we just had to fix a spare. Now, it could have been worse. We could have cracked the rim. We could have done some other body damage, but we didn't today, so we will consider ourselves lucky. And that is the end of this review. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, share this video with your friends. We make them for you, and we hope you enjoy them.